All right, let's talk about mastering personal productivity. But, forget the whole hustle culture thing and working yourself into the ground. This is all about building a smart, sustainable system to get things done without the burnout. So let's dive in. Does this look familiar to you? You're putting in the hours, you're busy all day, but somehow that to-do list just keeps getting longer. You feel overwhelmed, a little stressed, and you just know there has to be a better way to do things. Well, if that sounds like you, you're in exactly the right place. These challenges are super common, especially when you're trying to build your career. Think of these as the dragons you have to slay on your professional journey. Today, we're basically embarking on a productivity quest to give you the map and the tools you need to conquer them for good. And here is our map for that quest. First, we'll get a handle on the problem, that feeling of daily overwhelm. Then, we'll find our map to clarity. After that, we'll put together a really practical toolkit, look at the path from beginner to mastery, and then, most importantly, we'll figure out the exact first step you can take today. Okay, so let's start with that map to clarity. It's all built around this one core idea: foundational competency in personal productivity. I know that sounds a little formal, like something out of a textbook, but it's actually a really simple and powerful way to get your work under control. Now, really pay attention to that last part: without burnout. This is everything. See, real productivity isn't about just cramming more and more into your day. It's about building an efficient, effective system that you can actually sustain long-term. It's how you avoid that feeling of being completely wiped out at the end of every week. So, who is this for exactly? Well, it's designed specifically for professionals who are really looking to build and grow their careers. Honestly, mastering these basics is a non-negotiable foundation you have to build before you can really start taking on bigger projects, leading teams, or climbing that ladder. All right, let's get into the good stuff, the practical tools. What do you actually need in your toolkit for this productivity quest? Well, it really all comes down to 5 essential components. That's it, just 5. These are the fundamental building blocks. If you can master these 5 interconnected areas, you will have a rock-solid system for personal productivity. So let's break them down one by one. So our first tool is time management. And the biggest idea here is understanding the difference between what's urgent and what's important. Urgent tasks are the things that are screaming for your attention right now, the emails, the pings. But important tasks, those are the things that actually move your career and your long-term goals forward. The whole game is learning to tell them apart and to save your best energy for what's truly important. Next up, task management. We all have that one giant, intimidating project on our to-do list, right? The monster task. Well, the secret isn't to try and tackle it all at once. The key is to deconstruct it, to break it down into tiny, manageable, actionable steps. Once you've got a simple list, you can organize it, track your progress, and turn that scary goal into a whole series of satisfying little wins. Tool number 3 is all about focus. And let's be real, in a world that's basically designed to distract us, your attention is your most valuable asset. This means you have to actively manage it. You can use techniques like the Pomodoro method, working in short 25-minute sprints, and you've got to mitigate distractions by silencing those notifications. And here's a big one: become aware of your own energy and schedule your hardest work for when you're at your peak. Now, what about the actual tools, the apps, the planners? Look, whether you're using a fancy digital app or just a simple paper notebook, the specific tool you use matters way less than the habit of using it consistently. The real magic happens in having a regular routine, like a daily or weekly review, where you actually sit down and plan out your work. And finally, our 5th tool is the one that holds everything else together. It's your habits and your mindset. This is the mental foundation. It's about understanding what triggers your procrastination, finally ditching the myth that multitasking is effective, and setting firm boundaries so that your work doesn't just spill over into your entire life. Okay, so you have the tools now, but what does this journey from overwhelmed to in control actually look like in the real world? Let's chart the path from being a total beginner to someone who has truly mastered these skills. This table lays it all out perfectly. Maybe right now you see yourself as a beginner. You use a to-do list sometimes, but you're mostly just reacting to whatever comes your way. The goal is to move to intermediate, where you're consistently planning your day and using these techniques. And eventually, you can get to advanced, where it's all second nature, and you could even teach this stuff to other people. Just take a second and think, where do you fall on this chart right now? And how do you know you're actually making progress? Well, it shows up in what you do every single day.
You start your day with a clear plan, instead of just checking email. You start hitting your deadlines. An interruption doesn't completely derail your entire afternoon. These aren't just vague goals. They are real, tangible behaviors that prove you're building the skill. So, we've covered the what and the why. But now we get to the most important part of all, the how. How do you take your very first step on this productivity quest starting today? But before we jump into those steps, I need you to really hear this. Personal productivity is the foundation for everything else. You absolutely have to get your own house in order before you can start managing complex team projects or stepping into leadership roles. This is the prerequisite. Okay, here's your game plan. Please do not try to do all of this at once. Just pick one thing. Maybe it's reading a classic book on the topic. Or, here's my personal recommendation, pick one single technique, like the Pomodoro, and just commit to trying it for a couple of weeks. See how it goes. That's it. You have to start small. And why should you even bother with all this? What's the real reward at the end of this quest? You become known as a reliable performer. You're the person who gets things done without all the drama. And that, right there, makes you the #1 candidate for the most interesting projects and the biggest opportunities for your career. So, let's make this real. Your journey begins right now. Looking at everything we've just covered, from those 5 tools to the first steps, I'll leave you with this question. What is your first step going to be?